would God become a man? He doesn't care about us. Yet to the Romans, everything was about power and authority. So they're scratching their heads saying, okay, this hero of yours was crucified? Are you crazy? He's the guy you want to follow, a crucified hero? How can that be? And so the message to them could appear to be foolish. I mean, let's face it, it can appear to be foolish today too. So we've got to really be confident in God's way of doing things. We've got to be confident in what God's called us to do, that God's sending us. And I want to back up a step and say this. When I talk about Paul understanding his call and gifting, that's one of the keys to having healing in our hearts. When we walk into that room, and I'm thinking, what do they think of me? Jesus, you're with me. What do you want me to do? What's happening in their lives? How do you want to use me to minister to them? Is there anybody here you want me to talk to? And when we start to change our frame of reference then and see through the gift and call, the gift of God, the gifts of God and the calling of God in our own lives, then we're not focused on ourselves anymore. And the squishy spots then lose their power because we're not focused on ourselves. We're focused on first of all on Jesus as our hero and security, but then upon how does he want to use me in these other people's lives. But here, the methodology, when we do talk to people, we have to just trust in God that he knows what he's doing. He knew what he was doing when he gave us this simple message to share. I want to share this illustration with you of when I was in high school, my senior year. We had a teacher named Miss Hicks who was, I thought she was old, but she's probably in her 50s, but she had been teaching long enough that she had taught my mother, which that made her seem ancient. And everybody just held her in the highest respect. She taught English and grammar, and I was always good at English and grammar, bad at math, good at English and grammar. And so she was one of my favorite teachers. In my senior year of high school, she took me aside, and she said, Van, she said, I think you could be a public speaker. And then that was kind of like the hook, and then or the bait, and then the hook was, I want you to be part of this year's Christmas program in front of the whole high school in the high school assembly. Okay, what do you want me to do? She wanted me to read that letter, Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. It was it's pretty, I think vapid is the right word, but pretty empty, but I liked her, I respected her, and I said I'd do it. And there's a picture of me in the yearbook of that, but there's also a picture of my good friends, 5 or 6 of them in the front row, right there. About this far, roughly this far away. And they're all slouched down in their chairs, and they all have smirks on their faces. And I know that picture is from that because I remember it. But you know what I also remember? I mean, even though I lived a big part of my teenage years doing everything I could to please these guys, they were like my heroes. At that moment, I didn't care what they thought. I really did not care what they thought because Miss Hicks, she way outranked them in my heart and mind. And I cared more about what she thought of me than I did of what they thought of me. And I think that's what Paul's trying to get to here. And what he wants us to come to as well is just trust God. Get to know Jesus personally. Know him on a daily basis. Trust his ways in life. And trust him not only to work in your life, but to work through your life. So he goes on, he says, where's the wise man, the scholar, the philosopher? All he's really saying there is, where's their power? Where are the healed people? Where are the lives that have been delivered from sin? Where are the changed lives from the wise man, the scholar, the philosopher? And he once again just holds up Jesus and sums it all up in verses 22 to 26 with this final summation that we need to acknowledge Christ as preeminent in everything. And so he says, to those who are called, both Jews and Greeks, Christ is the power of God and the wisdom of God. That says it all right there. He is the one that we rely on and we rest in. Everything in him. And then he finally ends it by saying the foolishness of God is wiser than man's wisdom, and the weakness of God is stronger than man's strength. So with that said, we're going to worship. And the way we're going to start off worshiping is with communion. So those that are going to serve communion, you can get up right now and go back and start to prepare, okay? Worship team's going to make their way down. And I want to leave these thoughts with you. Jesus is supreme, okay? Jesus is the one who was crucified for you. He's the one who rose from the dead. He's the only one we have to please. He's the one we follow. He's the one we want to know. And so let's focus our hearts and our minds on that. And as we're taking communion, that little wafer represents the body of Jesus, which was given for us on the cross. And the juice represents his blood. And so the way we do is we take that little wafer and we dip it in the juice and then eat it, which symbolically states, Jesus, we need you for spiritual life, just like we need food for physical life. And I'm going to pray right now, because I do think that when we do this corporately, there is a sense in which God's presence is, God is prone to manifesting his presence in a special way. And so let's just pray together. And then the servers, you can make your way to your spots right now. And then just the band's just going to play. You just, in your own heart, if you're a follower of Christ, just open your heart to Jesus right now. Ask him to speak to you. Come at the right time and participate in this, okay? Father, we are thankful that you fulfilled your promise to redeem us. Jesus, thank you that you came, that you were willing to give yourself on the cross for us, to shed your blood so we can be forgiven and have life. And we worship you now. In Jesus' name.